Chase at the 40. Look at that move. Look at Chase go. Oh, my goodness. What a gear.
He comes down to this in his car end zone. Intercepted.
McPherson. And Cincinnati is heading to the Super Bowl.
Cross here. Mixon's going to throw. Open man. Tore Higgins. Touchdown.
Drives. Touchdown. Joe Burrow has his first rushing touchdown of the season.
Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, the heartbeat of our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, we are a day late, but I'll take blame for that. I've been on vacation this week. Went down to the Bahamas and Mexico. Took a nice cruise with the family. So it was nice, refreshing. I got to show you, Maan, real quick before we start the show. I found this in this very I don't know, this area in Cozumel that doesn't even have power. They run on generators, but this guy made this. It's awesome. I gotta show it to you. See if you guys can see this.
Nice.
How cool is that?
That is so cool.
Right?
Yes.
There's Bengals there. He made this with it's like with clay or something. I don't know. I saw it. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I found this in Cozumel, Mexico. Awesome. So very excited about that. But I haven't had internet for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. I did get it yesterday just to get caught up on everything that's going on. Maan, how's your week been? I haven't seen you in a week. You good?
Jake, it's been good. A little anxious about the game. Really nervous. I got a quiet confidence, but I'm still just a little nervous about it. It's been a good week. I've been battling a bug a little bit. Just been under the weather, but I'm getting better. But I need to brag a little bit. A couple weeks ago, I won Bengal Gems Fantasy Football League.
Yes.
I'm the champ. So
I'm
today,
I'm the champ.
Today, I got my winning prize, which is a Jamar Chase autographed mini helmet.
That is so awesome.
Certificate of authenticity and all. Buddy, I am so happy right now. My wife is on her way to Hobby Lobby to get me a nice case for it.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's
I'm
awesome.
excited.
Man, Bengal Jim hooked you up, huh?
He did. I tell you, man. You know what? I tell you what, we'll talk about how I won that championship on another show. It was a fluke. And
we'll give you some bragging time on the next show. But hey, you represented the Bengals Pulse, you represented the Wincinnati Podcast Network, and brought home the championship. Nice job, dude. Very nice.
All our listeners, if you want fantasy football advice for next year, contact us.
I don't know if I would go that far, but let's not take this to the let me ask you this. This is my one question. How many Bengals do you have on your team?
I only had 2.
Who?
Listen, in Bengal Gems Fantasy Football League, all the Bengal players are gone by the first 2 rounds.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, it's like slim pickings. And if you pick a Steeler or a Raven, you get roughed up. So,
that sounds like my kind of fantasy league.
Yeah,
I would fit right in. So what 2 Bengals do you have on your team?
You know what? I think I had Chris Evans. I mean, just like lower level guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because listen, everybody was gone. I mean, it was, you could tell it was a total homer league.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I won and I'm happy.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Maan, listen, we are filming this on Saturday right around 2:00. We are on the eve of a huge football game. I mean, I'm with you. I think I would feel this way even if the game was in Cincinnati, but this is a huge football game, Maan. And again, this Bengals football team still gets no respect. It's just crazy. And it's, the Bengals are the returning AFC champions, and everybody is on the Bills bandwagon, which is fine. I mean, I understand it's home field. I think Ace texted us today, or Zim. Was it Zim that texted us? I think Zim texted us, and you were even complaining about it beforehand that you're nervous about it. The Bills are like 13-1 at home for playoff games. This Bengals team, though, it's road tested. We've talked about this before. They went on the road last year, won those 2 big road playoff games last year. This is no different. Again, I feel very confident in this team. I obviously I'm nervous about the game because I don't think you'd be a fan if you weren't. But this Bengals team is road tested, and going into Buffalo, going in anywhere, it really doesn't phase this team very much. And I think this team continually plays with this chip on its shoulder because nobody is giving the Bengals a chance in this game, which is absolutely crazy. Mon, the NFL has already sold like 50,000 tickets to the AFC Championship game in Atlanta for the Chiefs Bills. They've already sold the tickets. It's just crazy to me. We've talked about it again. I don't want to get into this right now, but how does this Bengal team still not get respect? It's insane. This game, first of all, should be played at a neutral site because if it was replayed, the Bengals would beat the Bills.
Yeah, Jake, you know what? The Bengals they thrive on that underdog mentality. They thrive with the national media, the pundits, when they keep on using but Cincinnati, Cincinnati this, Cincinnati that, but this, but that. I think it makes them, it motivates them. I will say this: it's been a little refreshing today to get on this point. The last point you just brought up. A lot of the national media writers, Mike Florio. Some of the reporters on NFL Network and ESPN, even Mike Greenberg hinted around to it, that how the Bengals, this could have been a coin flip game. Yeah. And, nobody was saying that 2 weeks ago. But now everybody's looking at it in like, you know what? If, everybody assumed the Bengals were going to lose Monday night. Well, if they would have won, this game would be in Cincinnati right now. Yeah. So they were mentioning that. And, there's nothing we can do about it now. We just got to play. Listen, I think the Bengals have the better players. I really do. Okay, I don't think the gap is that big, but I think the Bengals do have the better players. The intangibles of playing in Buffalo are going to be huge. That's a rabid crowd, a rabid fan base. They are going to be pumped up. But you know what, Jake? I'll say this. Last year, they went into Tennessee. They played the number 1 seed in Nashville. Trust me, that wasn't some cakewalk of a crowd they had to face there.
Well, and remember too, last year Tennessee was the hottest team in football with the Bengals going into that game. Tennessee was the hottest team in football in the entire NFL. Tennessee was the hottest team, and the Bengals went in and beat them.
Yeah, that's right. That we're talking playoffs. They were the number 1 seed for a reason. I mean, they beat the Chiefs. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Bengals had to go on the road and play them, and they beat them. Listen, that score was pretty close. Bengals had a 16-6 lead at one time. Yeah. A couple plays, they got back into it. Listen, we had to go on the road the next week and play in Kansas City against Mahomes. And the Bengals won that game. So when it comes to playing in front of a hostile crowd, this team has that battle-tested mode that we talk about. So let's just play that game tomorrow. We keep on saying one game at a time. Let's do one quarter at a time tomorrow. And let's see how it shakes out.
Well, I think too is, remember too in that Tennessee game, Derrick Henry was making his comeback, right? So there was a lot of hype, and there's a lot of hype tomorrow going into that Buffalo game. But this Bengals team, it just doesn't phase them. And honestly, Mon, the Bengals they're going to have to take a couple of the Bills' shots early on. But if the Bengals keep this thing close, they're going to win this football game because they are battle tested. They are more battle tested than the Buffalo Bills are.
Yeah, like I said, you're on the road coming back today, but this morning on ESPN, they were breaking down it was on NFL Network, actually. They were breaking down some of the issues with Josh Allen and the turnovers recently. And, he's had multiple turnovers. He was sacked 8 times last week. The analyst brought up a good point that, teams that have had success against Allen recently, they've taken away the deep passes. They've taken away the medium range passes. They want him to do the checkdowns. And so what happens, they showed numerous clips. He gets frustrated and he starts forcing the ball, and that's where the turnovers come in. That's what the Bengals need to do. Listen, if the Buffalo Bills want to dink and dunk at 3 or 4 yards, the Bengals will have that all day. All right.
Yeah.
They're just waiting for Josh Allen. He has a cannon of an arm. Listen, the guy tomorrow is going to have a couple wow plays. You're going to be like, holy cow, no quarterback in football can do that. He's going to make some of those plays tomorrow. But you know what? The Bengals got to just take it, like you said. They got to survive the initial energy from the fans, and the team's going to be really pumped up. Let everything settle down. Survive the first 10 minutes. Play football. These Bengals, I think, have a better roster, better players. If we have 0 turnovers and we get a couple, we win.
Well, we talk about matchups every week, right, with our Bengals. And this week, for me, it's the Bengals offense versus the Bills defense. I really think that's the matchup because we saw early on in that Monday Night Football game, the Bengals went up and down the field in those 2 drives. And I feel like that's where that matchup is going to be in the Bengals' favor is our offense versus their defense. They don't have that elite pass rusher. I don't want Bills fans to get angry with me. I'm not saying you don't have a good defense. I'm just saying they don't have Von Miller rushing the passer. They don't have that elite pass rusher where, Bengals play these teams with these elite pass rushers and they struggle. That's the Bengals struggle. And that has been the struggle for the last 2 years. The Bills don't have that. And we saw in that Monday night game, we saw that there was Joe Burrow seemed to have quite a bit of time in the pocket in that game. And again, you give Joe Burrow time and you forget about it. There's no defense that can stop him. So I really think that this Bengals offense versus Bills defense is the key matchup. And I think it starts up front, right? We have 3 new offensive line guys starting on the offensive line. As we know, Jonah and Kappa have already been they've been out, right? They're named out.
Yeah,
So,
Cap. Yes, you're right. You've been on the boat. Sorry, Kappa is out, and so is Jonah. And I think Trey Flowers is doubtful for the game with a hamstring issue.
So I mean, with Kappa and with Williams already titled out for this game, you got 3 new offensive line guys. But again, I just when you got Joe Burrow, the offensive line last year, Maan, was horrible. It was worse than the offensive line that is going to be playing tomorrow night. It's worse than that last year's.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Yeah, I feel confident. I feel like I said. I think the Bengals' real struggle is stopping that elite pass rusher, and we don't see that with Buffalo. They got a good front 7, but it's just not elite. And I think Joe Burrow, if this offensive line can give Joe Burrow time, this Bills defense is not going to be able to stop us.
No, they're going to dial up some pressures. They're going to try to get some pressure on him. Listen, Kappa's gone. Williams is gone. Collins has been gone. But listen, we're replacing Kappa with a guy that has 33 NFL starts and 3 playoff starts. He's not Kappa. I get it. But you know what? He's not some guy off the street. He started 33 NFL games. That's pretty solid. Listen, Jackson Carman isn't replacing Anthony Munoz. Okay, I'm not trying to be mean. Okay.
No.
But Williams has been an average to above average NFL tackle. If Carman can play at that level, I don't think the drop-off is going to be that significant. Is he going to have a holding? I think he will. Is he going to have an offsides? I think he will. I think that's just going to happen. All right, but I think he's going to hold it down. Listen, here's the key, Jake, to me. I agree with everything that you said. Here's another part. I think the Buffalo Bills coaches, they know the Bengals offense. It's Burrow and the 3 amigos, and then Hurst also. We're 29th in the NFL in rushing the ball. Yeah. If the Bengals can come out and establish a decent run game, let's say averaging 4.5 yards per carry, that's going to change the tone of this game. All right, because I can guarantee you they're banged up in the secondary, the Bills are. They're going to be playing guys. They don't want that explosive play. Well, guess what? If those guys have to cheat up a little bit because P. Ryan and Mixon are starting to gouge them, I think the Bengals are going to come out, and I think that run game is going to reemerge against them, especially if Jordan Porter is out for the Bills.
Well, I think that really is the key, and we've talked about that week after week. Is the Bengals? When are the Bengals going to reestablish that run game? And this is the week for it, because you're right. The Buffalo's Bills, they got a taste of Joe Burrow and the Amigos. They got a taste of it on Monday night. I could see them literally dropping 7 to try to stop this Bengals pass attack. And if that's the case, this is the game to get Pirine and Mixon going. And if they do, look out. I'm telling you, look out. When this Bengals team establishes the run game, there is no one in the NFL that can stop this offense. Yeah. But we haven't seen it the last couple weeks. It's been absent. Let me go over with you real quick just how close these two offenses are production-wise. All right, so we'll start with passing leaders first. Joe Burrow finishes the season 414 for 606. So he had 606 attempts, 414 completions, 4,475 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 12 picks. Obviously, he missed the one game against Buffalo. Josh Allen, 567 completions, 567 attempts, 359 completions for 4,283 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. So 2 more interceptions for Josh Allen. Again, he missed that game as well, statistic-wise. Rushing the ball, Joe Mixon. Here's their rushing leaders. Joe Mixon, 210 carries, 814 yards, 7 touchdowns. Singletary for the Bills, 177 carries, 819 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So 5 yards off from the rushing leaders, and Mixon's got a couple more touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 87 receptions, 1,046 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And remember, Jamar Chase missed 5 games. 5 statistical games Jamar Chase missed. Stephon Diggs, 108 receptions, 1,429 yards receiving, and 11 touchdowns. He missed the 1 game. Jamar Chase missed 5 games with those numbers. So you can see, Mon, how close offensively this team is. Both teams like to throw the ball. Both teams like to occasionally run the ball to try to set up the pass. The matchup is even, but I think the biggest difference, like you said earlier, is Joe Burrow is a type of quarterback. He doesn't make a lot of bad decisions, right? He doesn't create a lot of turnover-worthy plays where Josh Allen does, right? Josh Allen's got the big arm. He's athletic. He's got all the tools, and he's going to make some wild plays like you said, but he's got a lot of turnover-worthy plays, and we don't see that from Joe Burrow. So I think advantage goes to Joe Burrow, especially being on the road. If the Bengals don't turn the football over in this game, the Bengals are going to win this game by 2 scores.
Jake, it could happen, and I hope you're right. I hope you are correct. All right. He is susceptible to the turnovers. I'm looking at the stats. The Bengals are +6 in turnover differential, 6th in the NFL. The Bills are even at 15. I thought they'd be a little worse, actually. But you know what? Listen, man, it's going to come down to turnovers. I like Burrow. Burrow's really, listen, a majority of these turnovers this year have been on tip passes. Yeah. And so, hopefully we don't get any of those. Listen, earlier in the week, I listened to some podcasts, and I'm sorry, I think it might have been Trags. He had Dan Horde on. I'm not 100% sure. But he brought up some stats from the Ravens game, for example. I think he said the Bengals had the ball 7 or 8 times in the whole game. The Ravens had the ball 8 times in that game last week. Compare that to the Bills and the Dolphins. The Dolphins had the ball 15 times in that game.
That's crazy.
15 possession. And the Bills had it 15 or 16. Can you imagine Joe Burrow getting 15 possessions?
That'd be crazy.
In a game. Now, listen, I think with, Allen. We talked about it before the Monday night game. We broke down the Bills. Josh Allen had over 700 yards rushing. Their other running back had 700. He averages 8 yards per attempt. He just scrambles. They're going to get some rush yards, but our defense has to get off the field on third down. We have to. He reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger early in his career. The Bengals just have to be smart. These wide receivers, we can't be cheating and looking in the backfield like Eli Apple did last week and gave that long touchdown. But if we get 15 possessions, look out if our offense does. So
agreed.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I think that's where the matchup lies, is our offense versus their defense. And if our offense can sustain drives, not turn the ball over, stay on the field, if we get 4 quarters of the taste that we got Monday night a couple weeks ago, this Bengals offense is going to go up and down the field on the Bills. And defensively for us, you know how these games work, Mon. You got to have an unconventional either touchdown defensively or just a big turnover, whatever the case may be. We saw it last week against the Ravens. We needed that unconventional touchdown. We needed that big play, and we need the same from this Bengals defense as well. Because listen, I know I'm going to get aggravated tomorrow because the Bills are going to have a couple easy drives where they go down and score. That's going to happen. This Bills offense is going to score points, but it's 3 or 7, right? If the Bengals can hold them to field goals, like we saw a taste of Monday night a couple weeks ago, I feel very confident in this Bengals offense right now, because even though the offensive line's a little banged up, the skill players, the skill positions, especially Joe Burrow, we're in pretty good shape. So I feel very confident about that matchup.
I agree with you. You know what? I just come. I don't want a lot. I don't want on our offensive side. We need to have just consistent, limit to 3 and outs. I don't want many punts tomorrow. But you know what, Jake? I think you hit it right on the head. Listen, there's going to be that wow factor. The Bills are going to come down. They're going to have an 80-yard drive. We're going to be like, holy cow, what just happened to our defense?
Yeah.
We got to make sure we're really going to need our offense tomorrow, because we're going to have to score some points. The Bills are number 2 in the NFL in scoring offense. Let's face it, they got a special quarterback. They got a great wide receiver. They got a great tight end, and they have decent running backs. But you know what? We have a good defense, and everybody talks about our offensive line being banged up. It is, but it's not like the Bills have, the second coming of the Hogs from the Washington Redskins days.
Yeah, right.
Their offensive line isn't elite. So I expect DJ Reader, Trey Hendrickson, Osai, Hubbard. I expect our guys, BJ Hill, your guy, to come in and play really well. And let's see, 1 quarter at a time.
Well, both these teams are fairly healthy. Both these teams are missing some key guys at key positions, but it's been that way for the last couple weeks. So this is not like we're coming into this game where both teams are really banged up or anything like that. We got 2 healthy teams, and I'm going to be honest with you. To me, this is the AFC Championship game, because whoever wins this football game tomorrow is going to win the AFC Championship. These are the 2 best teams in the AFC, and possibly the 2 best teams in football. What we're going to see tomorrow, and I don't know if you can even debate that, since both of them beat the Chiefs. So, Chiefs fans, you have no say in this. To me, these are the 2 best teams right now in football, and it should be exciting. It should be an exciting game. But again, I feel like the Bengals, as much as excitement as there's going to be on the Buffalo side, I just feel like this Bengals team has just got a chip on its shoulder. And again, they know what it takes to go on the road and win in the playoffs. We're looking at almost the exact same team that we saw last year. Almost pound for pound, the exact same team that did this last year and went on this run. And I think you see that in the locker room. These Bengals players are very confident going into Buffalo. There's no worry. There's not a blink of an eye. It is, we're just going to go in, take care of business. We're the team to beat in the AFC, And, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. Mon, I did want to touch briefly on the Mike Brown interview. Dan Horde interviewed Mike Brown. You and I listened to it. Very good stuff. Again, when we had Dan Horde on the show, we kind of talked about this with him briefly. You and I love the Mike Brown interviews because they're far and few between. Really quick before we get out of here, Mon, anything that you took from that interview with Mike Brown?
No, I just I love hearing him talk. He's not a Jerry Jones. He's not a flamboyant guy, but he just seems like a great guy. He has so much sports knowledge, not just the Bengals. He's a big baseball guy. I just love hearing him talk. I did like the story about Joe Burrow when he first introduced himself
Yeah,
to him at the combine, and about how, he looked so good on the sideline. He can't figure out why he wasn't a starter at OSU. And
Yeah.
Burrow goes, you couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And no, but you know what? Listen, today on NFL Network, Jake, I know you didn't get a chance to see it, but they mentioned, I think it was Ian Rappaport mentioned how the Bengals are going to actively try to strike a deal with Joe Burrow when the season ends. I mean, we already knew this.
Yeah, we
but
knew.
For them to talk about it, I guess the agent for Joe Burrow was quoted as saying, like, yeah, they're going to try to strike a long-term deal and expect a very, very lucrative contract. Hopefully, something else Mike Brown said during that, hopefully that it's a contract that makes him extremely wealthy, but also gives the Bengals some flexibility for a T. Higgins, a Jamar Chase, Logan Wilson.
Yeah.
Listen, we got a lot of football left in this season, but when we start talking in the offseason, there's going to be some tough decisions that have to be made. And it's going to be an entertaining show when we get to that one.
Well, hopefully we don't get to that one for at least another month and a half.
Yes,
but
yes.
I do really quick. I just want to touch on that's what I got from the Mike Brown interview was, and I really think that there's probably been conversation already. I feel like that for some reason that there's been conversation already. And I think Joe Burrow, he wants to win. Joe Burrow is one of the most competitive people I have ever watched on or off the field. The guy wants to win. He understands that in order to keep this thing going and to sustain this success, that he is going to probably have to take a little bit light in certain areas to make sure that we can re-sign these other guys. But I did not see that today about Joe Burrow. However, after listening to Mike Brown, both sides want this thing done, I think, quickly rather than later. So I could see this happening pretty quick. Joe Burrow's already made it very clear that he wants to be a Bengal for life. I think we all want that. I think the front office wants that. And I think Zach Taylor wants that as well, because Joe Burrow also said, I want Zach Taylor to be my coach for life. So I think we could see that happening pretty quickly. But I just love those Mike Brown interviews because you know what? He's a really humble guy. He's really humble. I mean, he gave all the credit in the world to his daughter, his granddaughters, his daughter. He has given all the credit in the world to the Blackburns. And that takes a big man to be humble and to say, listen, all of this excitement, everything that you guys have seen lately, that's all my daughter and granddaughter's doing. I just think that's very respectable. And I think it's very humble. And I love the fact that he just wants to be a fan now and watch the games. And I think that's great. I think it's great for the entire organization because I think the Blackburns are just crushing it right now and doing an incredible job. So good stuff from our guy, Dan Horde.
Yeah, it was. It's always good to have him on there. I joked around with him. I wish it could be a monthly segment with Mike Brown. But yeah, that's good stuff. I always look forward to that. And, listen, the Bengals are it's not just Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the catalyst. He's elevated the team, but the front office has taken it up to another level also. Yes. And Duke Tobin, all those guys really deserve a lot of credit. And you know what? The golden age of Bengal football is here.
It is here, and it is tomorrow hopefully can cap off just another incredible divisional game. That game obviously is tomorrow at 3:00. I will be there at the Abel Hassans. Hopefully the last 5 minutes, staying out in the front yard again as we
We already
clinch.
got a chair out there for you. We really do. I'm not joking.
I know you're not. As we clinch another victory out there, we're right now we're about 2 hours away from kickoff for the Jags at Kansas City. Real quick, Mom. Real quick. Who you got? Jacksonville, Kansas City. Does Jacksonville have a chance in this game, Mom?
They do have a chance. Jacksonville is going to be a handful for years to come. They're skilled players. Listen, I told you this a couple weeks ago. Troy Aikman said that out of all the teams he scouted for his telecast, he said that the Jaguars were the fastest team in the NFL. I thought he was crazy. Yeah. All right. Then our friend Justin, we're texting this.
Yeah.
He sent us all the information with all the 40 times. They are.
They are the fastest.
Yeah. And listen, they have a lot of talent. I think it's going to be a really close game. And in my heart, I want Jacksonville to win. We're only 2 hours from Jacksonville. I think Kansas City's going to do it, though, being at home. I think 31-28 Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to pick Jacksonville only because I want to speak it into existence. But I really feel this game is a little bit too much right now for this Jaguars team. That's how I feel. I hope I'm wrong. I am going to pick Jacksonville, though, just because I want to speak this thing into existence, because I want to go up there next week and watch the AFC Championship live in the jungle. So I am going to say Jacksonville 30. I'll say Jacksonville 31, Kansas City 28. So I'll do same score and we'll just flip it. How's that sound?
Listen, and I want you to be right. I want to be wrong. Okay.
Okay. All right. So real quick, Mon, the big one, Bengals, Bills. Who you got? What's the score going to be?
You know what? I got our Cincinnati Bengals winning this game 34-24. All right. They get a couple big turnovers, and here's a shocker. Travion Williams with a dynamic kick return for a touchdown.
Wow.
An unconventional score in the divisional round of the playoffs helps get the Bengals to the AFC Championship game.
Wow. I'm going to say, I hope it's your score. I'm going to say Bengals 31, Buffalo Bills 24. I think it's a score game. I think it's close. But again, like I said, man, I just feel like this Bengals team is on a roll, and the Buffalo's Bills defense is leaking some serious oil. We didn't talk about it a lot in this pod, but let's not forget they gave up 31 points to the Dolphins' third string quarterback at home, right? They're leaking oil a little bit. So, all right, Mon, here we go. It's game time tomorrow. I'm excited. Guys, if you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you check us out on all the podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bengals_Pulse9. On Instagram, the same without the at, Bengals_Pulse9. Make sure if you like this pod, please give Mon and I that 5-star review. We would very much appreciate it. And as always, make sure you check out all the awesome podcasts right here on the Wincinnati Podcast Network. He is Mon. I am Jake. Hooday, Bengal fans. Let's go get this dub in Buffalo tomorrow. Hooday.
See you guys.